remembered the social worker, though, chiefly because of the memorable way he had with words. He had once told her she was beautiful, as lovely as a summer sunset over the Wash. This remained the single most flattering personal comment Mary Mackenzie had heard in her entire life. "It's just—" she hesitated, feeling that she was overstepping herself. It would not do to be dismissed again. There was a diminishing list of agencies she could turn to. Besides, she liked Rye. It was the prettiest place she had ever worked. She could never feel at home. It was too posh for that. But she could try to fit in, like an invisible mouse beneath the floorboards, crawling out when required. "Oh, I wasn't expecting it, Mr Carstairs. That painting made me feel a little poorly, to be honest. And where were the Holy Ferns?" "What?" he snapped, baffled and a mite angry. The fierceness of his reaction silenced her. She took a sip of the tepid tea and wished she hadn't. The perfumed taste did nothing to still her stomach. "Oh!" he laughed. It sounded peculiar, a dry, crackling noise, and she was unsure whether this was a pleasant thing at all. "Holy Ferns! Holofernes! Oh, dear God, I know you're paid to cook and clean, Mary." "And the rest," said a mutinous voice she'd never dare allow escape into the light of day. "But I'd hoped you'd had a little more going on upstairs than that." "I thought you said—" she protested, until she realized there was little point. As they'd walked to the gallery, she had already begun to imagine in her head what the picture would be like. A portrait of a beautiful woman around her own age, someone with bright golden hair and a radiant face, smiling out of a small forest of lush green fernery, with golden sunbeams behind, like the light of heaven, or the Wash on a fine summer's day. Mr Carstairs shuffled upright from his present slump, squirming inside his shiny old suit. She recognized the gesture. He was about to deliver a lecture, and intended to extract double pleasure from it, first by wagging his skinny index finger at her as he held forth, then by letting her know how disappointed he was, if not utterly appalled, that her ignorance made the whole performance necessary in the first place. "Holofernes," he intoned. "There, say it after me." "Holofernes." She repeated the 4 odd syllables as quietly as she dared. The people at the next table, 2 nice-looking girls in pretty T-shirts and skimpy shorts, were beginning to stare. "According to the apocryphal book of Judith, he was a general of Nebuchadnezzar during the 6th or 7th century B.C., Mr Carstairs continued in his best teaching voice. "He was sent against Palestine and was about to besiege, and no doubt sack, the city of Bethulia. Judith, a Jewish widow, slipped out of the town, ostensibly to tell him he would be victorious and offer a little entertainment as a distraction. Then, when he was drunk and sleeping, we may surmise what went on before, she decapitated him." "I'd gathered the last bit," she muttered. It was hard to miss that particular point. The temporary exhibition room in the gallery seemed full of pictures showing a woman cutting off the head of a bearded man, some of them more bloody and gruesome than anything she had ever expected to see bearing the label art. Mr Carstairs wore a snide smile. "Well, that's something. So, Mary Mackenzie, what is your analysis? What do you think it was all about?" A flutter of panic rose in her windpipe, like a huge furry moth trying to fight its way out of her stomach. "Revenge?" she guessed in desperation. The grey, bristly face fell in disappointment, and 2 cold eyes regarded her from behind the thick glass lenses. "But he hadn't done anything, had he? Not yet. Judith was judge, jury, and executioner for the poor sod before he'd even touched a single Jew." The girls on the next table were staring frankly at them. Mary felt justified in doing the same back, and was shocked